Hi, Dr. Susie. Thank you for joining me today for this brief practice. We're going to spend about 10 minutes with a slight emphasis on some heart opening, and I really hope you enjoy taking this time for yourself today. So coming to the front of our mat, take a minute here to close your eyes and just check in with what's happening in your body and your mind. Any tension that you may feel, allow those parts to move, perhaps do some neck circles, rotating from side to side. If you've been sitting for a while, you may want to shake out those legs a little bit. Release any tension, strain from the arms. Give the fingertips a little wiggle. And when you've kind of worked out any restless kind of energy, we're going to come into a nice solid mountain pose. Feeling the connection of all four corners of our feet on our mat. Take a moment to kind of check in with the hips. Make sure that pelvis is tucked and tilted forward. Allow our shoulders to rotate slightly outward, so thumbs are almost pointing behind us. And on our next inhale, we're going to circle our arms up and overhead. So nice deep inhale. And on our exhale, we're going to allow our movement to come from our elbows, creating this nice wide W arms. Inhale the arms up and overhead. Again, leading with the elbows, nice wide movement here. Take that 2 more times. Inhale up. This time, let our fingers kind of join the party. Give them a little bit of a wiggle. They do a lot of work. Let's let them dance a little bit today. One last inhale up. And elbows, shoulders coming back, opening that heart space, inviting in the gift of our practice today. Crossing our left leg in front of our right ankle. Take one more inhale up. And this time, let's give our left wrist a hug with our comforting grip of our right hand. On our inhale here, we're going to really think about lengthening up through the spine, keeping our shoulders, hips stacked over our feet. And on our exhale, we're going to take a slight lean to the right here, keeping length in both sides of our body. Inhale, think about lengthening. And as we exhale, see if you can let that torso drop just a smidge more to the right. Take one more inhale. Exhale. Let's come up on our next inhale, releasing the arms. Shake that out a little bit if we need to. Now we're going to cross the right leg in front of our left. Inhale, arms up, and give that right wrist a hug with the grip of our left hand. Again, on our inhale, we want to think about lengthening up, keeping that pelvis tucked, hips facing forward. And on our exhale, that slight lean to the left. Again, focusing on keeping nice extension through the crown of our head. Lengthen both sides of the body here. On our inhale, think about lengthening out, and exhale, see if you can just sink a little bit further into that movement. And on our next inhale, let's come back up, standing, releasing the arms, allowing the feet to meet again, come together. One more inhale up and overhead. And on our exhale, let's swan dive forward. Keep a nice length and extension through our spine here. And here, coming into our forward fold, find a place that feels comfortable for you. Arms maybe on the shins, perhaps on the ankles, fingertips, or even the floor. Wherever you're at, allow yourself to release. Give the weight of your head and shoulders over to gravity. If you feel stable here, you can even clasp our opposite elbows. Even find a side-to-side sway if you prefer. And on our next inhale, we're going to take a big bend in our knees here, dropping our hips back, really focusing on pushing the weight in the backs of our heels here. You should be able to, and I encourage you to lift those fingers a little bit, or sorry, lift those toes a little bit. Allow them to do a little wiggle, a little dance here. Coming into our chair pose. You have some options for your arms here. You may want to inhale your arms up and overhead. You may prefer to keep them here on your hips, wherever you feel comfortable and stable. You're gonna feel that kind of fire coming up through that heat coming up through our thighs here, really nice and engaged. Again, keeping nice length in our spine here, coming up through the crown of our head. Wherever you've decided to place your arms, let's bring them to our knees here with some supported cat-cow stretches. So on an inhale, we're going to think about really arching that spine, turning the gaze upward, allowing our chest to come through, space created between our arms. And our exhale, really round that spine, tuck that pelvis under. Imagine as if you could bring the tip of your tailbone to the very top of your head. Continue that movement with your natural breath. Inhale, gazing upwards, trying to point that tailbone to the back of the room. Be mindful of our shoulders here. They have a tendency to want to creep up. Let's keep them kind of nice, tucked back and down. Exhale. Really find that nice curve of our spine here. Take one more inhale. And on our exhale, sink back down into that forward fold. You may find we're able to sink a little bit deeper here. And if not, that's okay. On our next inhale, we're going to take a big step back with our right foot. Okay, coming into kind of a runner's lunge here. So find some good footing. We're on the ball of our back foot here. And we're going to walk our hands up, perhaps up to our knees. Find some stability here. You may want to adjust your stance a little bit. If you took too big of a step back, that's all right. Just scoot that back leg forward a little bit. Here, coming into our high lunge, we want to really think about bending this back knee and allowing this pelvis to really, really tilt forward, keeping our hips nice and in line and parallel, facing the edges, kind of in parallel and in sync with the edges of our mat. And once we have this nice alignment with our pelvis, we can think about straightening that back leg just a tad. Hips can remain here, our hands can remain here on our hips for balance. Or again, you may wish to circle them up and overhead, turning our gaze slightly upwards, almost to kind of the corner of the room where the ceiling meets the wall here. Take a nice round of 2 inhales and exhales. And on our exhale, let's bring our hands to support our lower back here. Allow our shoulders to really round up and pull down our back here. And if you feel comfortable doing so, we can allow a slight back bend motion here to really open up that heart space. Okay. Coming out of that movement, we're going to pivot towards the side of our mat here. Notice how I have my feet kind of pigeon-toed with heels towards the edge of my mat, toes pointing inwards. I'm going to start with my hands on my hips here. Take a nice deep inhale and kind of allow our heart rate to come down a little bit from that challenge of our lunge. And we're going to hinge forward at the hips here, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. And here with our hips more open, you may find we can get even deeper here. So again, hands can come to our shins, ankles, fingertips, or even palms of our hands to the floor here. Choose your level with what your body needs today. Again, this is a great opportunity to release some stress and tension from our shoulders and head. Really allow the crown of your head to seek the ground here. And if it feels good for you, give that head a little nod, no, and a shake, yes. Okay, we're gonna bring our hands back to our hips, keeping a nice flat back, keeping our navel drawn into spine, support our lower back. Your next inhale, we're gonna slowly rise back up. Coming into our warrior two here, we're gonna pivot on the heel of our front foot to our left, most likely. And we're gonna keep this right leg, this back leg, slightly angled in, really keeping that inner rotation from the hip. Before we take a moment to check our arms, we're gonna kind of create a really nice firm foundation here. So take a moment to check our alignment here. Our heel of our front foot should be kind of lined up with the center of our back foot. Hips, we want to keep nice and kind of squared to the long edge of our mat. We don't want to have kind of a push out here happening. Keep those hips nice and tucked forward and in kind of parallel alignment, pointing to the long edge of our mat. And once we have this alignment, we can allow that front knee to really sink towards a 90-degree angle, keeping the kind of along the edge of our back foot pressing into the mat for some support and stability. Arms are going to come extended just slightly below shoulder level. And our gaze, we'll take a look out over our middle fingertip here. If you would like, you can rotate that front palm, reach out slightly, bring our back arm to our hip, come to a peaceful warrior, gazing up that upper hand. Take a complete inhale and exhale here. And on your next exhale, let's come out back into our warrior two. We're going to rotate on the heel of our back foot, coming back into that kind of pigeon-toed stance. And we're going to take a trip to the back of our mat here, rotating out and spinning out on our right foot here. Again, checking our alignment. First of all, creating a nice firm foundation. Back leg slightly rotated in from the hip. Front leg is the heel of our front foot in line with the center of our back foot. Keeping our hips, again, nice parallel to each other, facing the long edge of our mat. Our arms extended just below shoulder level. Gaze looking out over our fingertip of our middle finger here on the right. Again, if you'd like, you can rotate palm, reaching slightly forward and coming on our back hip. Taking a nice side bend here, gazing upwards into our peaceful warrior. And on exhale, come back down. We're going to pivot on the ball of our back foot here, taking our lunge on the opposite side. So again, might want to adjust your stance a little bit here. Really allow this back leg to bend so we can tilt that pelvis forward. Keeping our hips now parallel to the edges of our mat. Pelvis tucked under. Then allowing that back leg to straighten. Again, arms can be on our hips. Inhale them up and overhead. Wherever you feel comfortable today. Really think about squeezing those legs to the midline of the body. So creating some kind of heat in our inner thighs. Keeping our shoulders nice and tucked down the center of our back here, not inching up towards our ears. Your next exhale, bring our hands to our lower back here. And again, really allowing that chest to open. This may be enough of a opener for you. If you need a little bit more, really think about opening that heart space, pressing that chest up to the ceiling, allowing the head to drop back slightly. A little bit of a challenge for our balance here. And on our next exhale, we're going to take a big step, come back into mountain, facing the back of our mat here. Okay. In closing our practice, we're going to come to kind of our arms in a bit of a T here. Take a moment to reflect on the gifts that we've received from our practice, reaching out in front of us as if we were scooping up all those wonderful gifts and embracing them in front of us as if we were kind of hugging a nice big round beach ball. Bring those gifts into our heart and consider how you might spread the warmth and joy or gratitude or whatever it has been that you've received into your practice today, how you might carry that forward and bring that into the lives of others that you encounter today. So thank you again so much. Namaste.